The Spencer Fire Department held a live fire training for its members on November 7, 2021. We had a chance to talk with Spencer's fire chief, Bob Parsons, about the training.
We're supposed to be doing live fire training every year. Car fire training. We have a dumpster prop down at our own facility along with a vehicle down there. We do burn. So they have to have some type of live fire training every year. The Auburn facility came about with a federal grant through the AFG program that 10 towns put in for the grant. Being a regional grant, we would get a better chance of getting to secure that grant versus a single community. The building is very similar to one that we've done some live burns with down in Connecticut. And that was kind of the impetus behind getting the type of building that we have. We wanted to do multiple floors. We didn't want, the old building was one floor and that was it. We wanted to be able to go, up 2-3 flights. We wanted to be able to go down, like we're going down into a basement fire. We wanted to be able to do some ladder training on it, some high angle, confined space, forcible entry, roof props, and we have everything with this facility, which is really awesome. The training itself for that day, we have a script that we have to follow, which is a standard for live fire training. If you notice during the live fire training, we had the attack lines, we had backup lines, we had a line for RIT, which is our rapid intervention team. So if something goes wrong in any of they're the ones going in, they have to have their own hoses. We had hoses that were coming off of a hydrant, and hoses that were coming off our tanker, which is a second water supply. So if the hydrants failed, we always had a second water supply. In the last 4 months, we've done what we call back to basics. And out of that, one of the things that they've been doing is search and rescue in that facility. So they've been going through the building, doing search and rescue drills. And that kind of leads up to the live fire as well, because they're using those same skills where they go in, start searching rooms, looking for victims, and they're doing the same thing during the live fire training, other than they're also knocking down fire. Because we wanted to get all our people in for the live fire to actually go in and put the fire out, Lester and Sutton, we reached out to them, and they were our support people and igniters. So they go in and set up the pallets that we had inside with the straw, and they put it all in, and they actually ignite it when they get permission to ignite it, and then they keep the fires going. That's their job, and then they clean it up afterwards, and then they set up for the next burn. Captain Brigham from Auburn, they're in charge of the facility, so they have to have someone there for the day. He's in charge of the facility and making sure we're not doing anything that we shouldn't be doing, and making sure everything is fine for us to use as well, that there's nothing's broken, nothing that is not working properly. That's his job, to make sure at the end of the day that we have a good day burning, and that we're not doing any other destructive to the facility, because we want it to continue to be used. And there was also another Auburn firefighter, Jay Feldman, that was inside with us as a safety person, doing the same thing, making sure that the firefighters going in weren't going to be doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So during this evolution that we have, that pre-plan form that we fill out prior to the burns, we fill in a lot of positions. Who's going to be the incident commander? Who's going to be the operations guy? Who's going to be inside safety, outside safety, staging, EMS? All those are filled out prior to the event. And then we break down the groups further, and we didn't use engine 2, engine 3, engine 4. We took the officers and put one officer in charge of each group because we wanted to keep some of the officers outside. And then we broke it down to some experienced people and some inexperienced people. So there was a mixture in the groups to try and get the more inexperienced people a lot more time on the hose lines, but have experienced people in there to teach them, to train them. So each group was broken down prior to the event, and it was, you know, group A, group B, group C, and then we had a list. And then within that syllabus, we had, you know, for burn 1, group 1 was on fire attack, group 2, you know, group B was on the backup line, group C was on the written line, group D was in staging, and then it swaps. And that's how we keep track of everybody. We know who is going to get in. So we did 8 burns the other day, and out of those 8 burns, we got everybody through it, especially all our inexperienced people, to work with the experienced people as well. And that's what the whole idea with the training is, to get these inexperienced people a lot of live fire training. We're trying to give them the heat, the smoke, and to be able to get into that room and extinguish the fire and then ventilate. And we can make that determine, like we were lighting some fire, we did some just general fires, first floor, they were going in a first floor door, going in, put the fire out, or going up the fire escape to a second floor to go in. But then we were using the first floor fires to make it like a below grade fire, like a going in through a bulkhead. And that's, so I know we were in the back of the building, they were coming in the back door and going down the stairs. And that's the ability we can do with this facility. We did it both times towards the end where the first group went downstairs to extinguish the fire. Once they had extinguished, we lit another fire on the other side, and the other group did the same thing from the second floor down to the first floor as well, to make it seem like a basement fire or a below grade fire.
There are 3 burn rooms in the building.
The burn rooms have burn material on the walls to absorb heat, keep heat in the room, but also to protect the steel as well. That's why we can't burn in every room. We can only burn in certain rooms because that material is only in certain rooms. We use pallets, wooden pallets, and we put them up in a triangle. And we do that with one on the bottom trowel. And then we fill all the slats in with straw, and that's all we use is straw. We don't use, there's no gasoline, there's nothing like that, because you cannot use that in live burn training. We can't use hay, because hay has bacteria and things like that in it. And the only other thing we did is we put OSB above it, which is like a plywood material, and we put it above it to try and contain the heat a little bit more and to produce more heat, so when they're going in, they're having a lot more heat that they have to feel to drive them down to the floor. We can't just do a burn in a hallway. We have to do it in certain rooms because that material is only on the walls and ceiling in those rooms. And if you've noticed during all the live fire trainings, we weren't burning up the pallets. They were throwing the pallets out and reusing new ones because that creates a much greater heat in that room.
Firefighters are loaded with gear when entering a burning structure, and it's critical that they are suited up properly.
That's one of our things as we're going into a building, to make sure everybody's got their hoods on, they got it around their throats, they got their gloves on, and we're checking everybody, making sure your straps are there, nothing's loose, because you don't want to get that person inside and then they have an issue, now you got to deal with that and not do what you got to do. You know, fully geared on, you're talking a couple 100 pounds that you're walking into a building with. So So these are composite bottles that we use. They're compressed to 4,500 pounds. I call 4.5 bottles. It's not oxygen, always remember it's breathing air. We can't go into a fire environment with oxygen, that'd be bad. We have a compressor over here that we fill our bottles with, and it's just taking the air that we breathe here today.
The breathing air bottles have a built-in alert feature that sounds when a firefighter stops moving. During the training, firefighters would make short movements to reset the alarm if they had been standing still. In a real fire situation, the bottle alarm alerts other responders at the scene that a firefighter is down inside the building. Communication is a key factor when fighting fires.
So we operate on a repeated system in town. So wherever I am in town on my portable radio, sounds like I'm right next door to you. So we have that ability to talk throughout town on our portables. As long as I can hit the antenna, I can speak to anywhere really in town. When we were at the live fire the other day, we went to what we call a fireground channel. Everybody has the channel as well, and we all communicate on the same frequency. Now we also have district channels, District 7 Red, District 7 Blue, that anybody in the district can operate on, and we all have that channel. So if we went from here to Uxbridge for a fire and they put us on red, everybody's on red. And that's typically what we do on a major fire, is we switch to these district frequencies and we get off our own channels. But we have the ability with these newer portables that we got by the town and through a grant to operate on up to 99 channels. And we have channels for every single one of our district. We have it on our portable radios and our truck radio. All our engines plus the ladder have thermal imaging cameras on them. So a thermal imaging camera, what we're doing is we're looking through the smoke at heat signatures. Everything around us, whether the fire trucks, individuals, the lights, the cameras, all have a different heat signature that it gives off. We can see a couch, an individual laying on the floor, the fire, a door. Once it reaches to what we call flashover, or it reaches its point of ignition, everything in the room, and everything is equal, and our cameras would go white. We wouldn't be able to see anything on them, and at that point we need to be out of that room within seconds, otherwise we're going to be in that flashover, and within flashover you have a survivability of about 4 seconds to get out of that room. One of the things that we do during this live burn is we work on ventilation. And hydraulic ventilation is spraying the water outside the window. So the firefighters will knock the fire down, and they're trying to remove the smoke from the room because we don't have any mechanical ventilation there. I mean, we could have set it up, but that wasn't the intent. So we're not setting up a fan or anything like that. So they take the hose, they put it outside the window, they bring it to a fog pattern, and then they bring it back inside the window. And so we do that, and it starts bringing all the smoke outside the window, it's pulling it. And that's how we clear the smoke out of the room.
After a successful morning of rigorous training, the firefighters started cleaning up, and we had a chance to tour the inside of the building with Spencer's Deputy Chief, Corey LeCaire.
Going to the burn room.
Corey showed us a rack that holds the pallets and straw, the fuel for the fire.
Fires today were, 1,000 degrees, 400 degrees at the ceiling, and then there's a thermal layering that happens, so down at the floor it's very cool. In-house, everything is secure. I mean, even once the sheetrock falls off the wall, the studs behind it. There's a point in the fire called flashover where everything in the room will all of a sudden instantly reach its combustion temperature. But we don't have it here because we control the amount of fuel. Yeah, so this is the final burn room. This room has some really cool features that go with it. So you can see up above, we can frame that so we can act like we're coming in here and pulling ceilings. Above here is a roof prop. So we can act like we're cutting a roof and then poking the ceiling out. So much fun stuff that we can do in this building.